Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So, what I'm going to do on this video, I'm going to take you through my last week. So basically last week were a peak week. I've been building up to peaking up a few exercises, and I'm just going to talk you through exactly how they went. There were some highs, but mainly lows, and I'll explain exactly in detail exactly the reasons why. So to get started, the reason why I was having to basically peak everything in 1 week, ideally, you probably spread it over like 2 weeks. So you could do like the deadlift and then say the log press on 1 week, and then you could do a couple of different exercises a later week, or you could do it the other way around. To be quite honest with you, I will probably have in a better conditions and everything. I'd have probably just deloaded last week and then maybe gone for a PB on maybe farmers, and then maybe sandbag as well, and then everything else being deloaded nicely going into the following week, which would be this week, and then we can send the log and the deadlift. But we didn't quite have the time simply because I've got a competition coming up, so we have to go into comp prep for that. So it meant everything had to get put into 1 week because we've been ramping up for the last 4 or 5 weeks, sort of building up into it. And yeah, it meant that basically we had to do it all in 1 week. And the week is probably the hottest week of the year basically for the UK. Now, if you're not based in the UK and you're watching this, basically we had temperatures of around about 35 degrees for like most of the week, from basically like Sunday, either Monday or Sunday onwards, all the way until basically like the Saturday or the Sunday following. So like a full 7 days nearly of like just 35-degree heat every single day, which for people in the UK, we're not used to that, and there's no buildings designed for it. There's no air conditioning. All the gyms don't have air conditioning. They usually either try and open the doors up to allow a little bit of airflow, but again, you're just letting warm air through it, or they have some fans which are essentially just blowing hot air at you. So either way, it wasn't ideal conditions, to be quite honest with you, because within a heat wave, within heat in general, it doesn't necessarily have to be a heat wave, but obviously based in the UK, it's a heat wave that's going to generate that much heat. Basically, your strength levels are just going to naturally drop. You're more drained, you're tired, you're probably a little bit more dehydrated as well as than usual. Even though I was drinking about 4 or 5 litres, my lips felt a bit dry. I was absolutely drenched in sweat within about 20 minutes. Usually, warm up was done, starting to get into the groove on my first main lift of the workouts, and I was already drenched in sweat. My coach Josh literally made a comment after my event session towards the back end of the week, saying that I looked like I'd done a spin class after it, when all I'd done is about 3 or 4 exercises, and I had a big long rest after the farmers and the sandbag in that session. So yeah, basically the Brits just aren't used to it, so I think it took a toll on myself, because I don't do well in heat anyway, but it took a toll on me a lot more than what I expected and what Josh and Luke were hoping for as well on that week. So first session was obviously the deadlift. I always start my week off with some sort of form of deadlift. We had 2 goals in this session. So number 1 was doing a 245 kilo deadlift with no hitch. I've previously been hitching anything above 220, 230 would usually end up in some form of hitch. So I actually hit that. It was a lot tougher than what we expected, because I did do a few singles at 232.5 the previous week, and they were flying, like no issues. So this 245 was a bit of a struggle, and to be quite honest with you, I was on the verge of starting to hitch, but we did it. I should have moved it a lot better, and I think on a normal week, 250's there with no hitch, which for me, I'm really happy with, because I've just relied on hitching too much. My lockout needed to be a lot stronger, especially the more and more progressing strongman and the more heavier weight I want to lift on the deadlift. Your lockout has to be strong, simple as that. And then the next goal on the deadlift was basically try and pull a new 1 rep max. Now, my current 1 rep max is 260 kilos. I, in my head, wanted more than just a slight little PB. that for me, the way deadlift was going in the last 3 or 4 weeks, which was absolutely flying, I genuinely believed 270 was going to get pulled. So in my head, I'd already said to myself, box off the 245, and then we're putting 270 on there, which is a fair bit of a jump. It's obviously a 25 kilo jump, so it is a huge jump. But in my head, and on a perfect week, I still believe I get that. As you can see on the video that I'm overlaying on the video on this YouTube video, I get it quite far up. I get it to my knees, and yeah, my legs just start shaking. And to be quite honest with you, I lose the bar path a little bit due to the shaking of my hamstrings and hips. So what that does is it actually pulled me forward a little bit more, which is why I ended up dropping it. If I'd have managed to keep my bar path pretty decent, I might have been able to start to power through it. Basically, if I'd have got it over my knees, I'd have been able to hitch it out. I know that for a fact. So for me, the strength was there because I got it basically near enough knee height. So the strength for me on that deadlift is there. It's just fucking annoying that I didn't get it. So hopefully it comes, I get another opportunity to pull it, and it comes and I can tick that off because I really do want to start moving towards that 300 sort of mark. So I feel like 270 is a big milestone, or if you go a little bit more than 270, the 600 pound mark, that's such a big milestone. So ideally I want to tick that off. So I was gutted, but I wasn't too gutted because I know, looking back at the video, I know it's there, basically. Then we're moving to the next session. So I actually had like a full day's rest, and then went to my next session on the Wednesday, which was the log press session. Now, this is where things really started, really sort of taking hits out of me a little bit. Everything felt good walking up into the gym, and then, yeah, I'd lifted the log about 3 times, and basically everything just felt heavy. I eventually ended up, when I was warming up, got to 95 kilos, and that felt really, really heavy doing the 95 kilo log, which, if you look back at some of the previous logs that I have been doing previously, like 95 kilos, flying, 90 kilos, flying, like all those numbers. I'd done 92.5 kilos for 4 reps, like 2 sets of 4 reps. Absolutely flying, like not really massively overly grinding the 4th rep out as well. So that's a sort of a telltale sign on how the heat wave was actually affecting me, both from just the heat in general, but also like my sleep and the hydration side of things. It just took it out of me. I got to 110. I failed that 3 times, and then eventually I just called it a day, because after 3 times it was like psychologically, I think I just said to myself it wasn't there. Even if I'd have got the 110, I think I knew deep down on that day the 115 wasn't moving, basically. So I didn't even attempt to stick it on and just try my luck, because I didn't think there was much point. If I couldn't do the 110, I know the 115 wasn't there, which is, again, really frustrating because my strength or my pressing has just been on the up a lot. And I've already hit 110 previously, so like there wasn't much. I did hit the 105, which was a big sticking point for me a few months ago. So to hit that on like that sort of day is good. Like that's the one positive that I can say. So after the log press, I then went on to my 3rd session. And this had farmers, a 10 metre PB we were going for on farmers, and then also we were trying to go for my current 1 rep max on sandbag, which is 140 kilos. We're trying to do that for a few singles over, so sort of trying to really just get as much exposure as possible on that 140 sandbag. So I'll start off with the farmers. That everybody, like, if you don't know already, a really good marker to say that you basically your central nervous system, which is a huge factor in your strength output. If your central nervous system is fried, your strength output just plummets. So that matched with the heat wave, I think they're sort of correlated with each other, as well as me trying to fully send it on the deadlift earlier in the week, and trying to do the log press as well, a little bit more the deadlift than the log press. It meant that basically my grip wasn't there, because your grip is like one of the biggest telltale signs. So 140, I failed. I believe I've got 145 in the bag. After a few attempts, I did manage to get to about 7 meters or so, and I was fuming at myself that I dropped it just so close to the cone and the 10 meter mark. I tried picking it back up, and it like I'd had 10 Guinnesses, to be quite honest with you. I couldn't stand straight trying to pick them back up. So yeah, only got 7 meters with it again. Really, really frustrating. Had to really just sit. I just ended up sitting down, to be quite honest with you, laying down on the ground for about 5 or 10 minutes before getting myself up, packing it all the way, and getting the sandbag out. And in the sandbag, I couldn't even lap that. I know it's there because the 120 on the warm-ups, the 120 was moving easy. I sent it over to Josh, my coach, and I basically said, like, this is how the 120 looked. And then I sent him the 140, and he was like, yeah, like, this is just because of the heat, because the CNS just being absolutely fried from earlier in the week. It was just like, the 120, which we've done a lot of work of exposure on, moves just I can't even say it now. Oh my God. I ain't going to attempt to say it. You know what I'm trying to say anyway. Effortlessly. There we go. And then the 140 just looks like it's like a 180 kilo bag or something like that. So, yeah, really frustrating there. But coming into this week, I've already done 2 sessions this week, and it's been nice because it's dropped by 10, 15 degrees nearly. It's dropped to about 20 degrees, I think the hottest was today, which is nice. And training, again, started going well again. So it clearly shows that the heat just played too much of a role for me overall, which is really frustrating. But there's nothing I can do about it. I can dwell on it. I've watched the videos over and over again. But all I can do is move on. I've built the foundational strength there. And I do believe if we ran that peak week again in say a few months' time, those weights wouldn't really be an issue. I'd be trying to go even higher than them. So yeah, frustrating. But the reason why obviously we had to condense it in a week as well, I couldn't really push it back a week, is because I got a new competition that I signed up for. So I have signed up for my first Opens competition. I mentioned in the past that I have been looking for one, and I managed to find one where the weights are going to be challenging for me, but I should also not really zero on many events, if any, in an ideal world. So we've got East Warrington Strongest Man in August. We've got about 8 weeks, just less than 8 weeks, I think. So we've got deadlift. It's a suited deadlift, or well, you can do it suited anyway. It's got trump weights, 260 kilo deadlift for reps, or 300 kilo deadlift for reps. And I don't have a suit. I have one in the post. It was meant to be delivered last week, but it wasn't. So I'm hoping it comes this week, because I'd like to get into it as soon as possible. Then we've got axle clean and press into log press, and it's just alternating between them. Now these are both 115 kilos each, which obviously I've just mentioned that I was trying to PB on 115 kilos log. So hopefully I should hit that pretty soon, as we'll start ramping the weight up for the competition. So axle, I'm pretty confident I can hit 115 kilo on an axle bar. It's just the log, which if I can hit it on the log, I know I can definitely hit it on the axle. So that's one thing. Then we've got Conan's Wheel, which that's a very unknown event, so we'll just have to see how that goes. It is like about 200 kilo, 220 kilo Conan's Wheel, but the weights are really iffy on Conan's Wheel. It might sound really heavy, but then like the weight differential, a little bit like a Viking press or a car deadlift, just might be a bit skewed a little bit. And then we've got a sandbag, so you're carrying 2 sandbags, 110 kilo, 130 kilo sandbags into the back of a car. And then it was meant to be a car drag, but they've changed it to a car arm over arm, which should be fun. And then to finish off with a stone run, which I'm pretty decent at stones, so that should be fun. I'd be impressed with myself if I finish the run, but if I can get to the 140 stone, it basically goes from 90 to 160 with the Atlas stones. So if I can get the 90, I think it's like 110, 120, 130, 140 stone done, I'll be really happy. And then if I get the 160, yes or no. I've never done a 160 stone, so we don't know. We'll see how that goes. So yeah, that's the reason why. So I'm going to be doing a lot of videos talking about comp prep, going into that. So make sure you subscribe, like the video, and yeah, comment something down below. Comment what PB I maybe should start focusing on next.